traditional mysteries weren't selling too well, and it seemed time to make a big change. Back when I started writing the Sookie books, there wasn't anything like urban fantasy, and the only person writing anything like what I wanted to write was Laurel K. Hamilton. Yeah. It was kind of a brave new world, and it took 2 years to find somebody who was willing to publish Dead Until Dark. 2 years. Wow. Yeah, we're a lot of people sorry. Yes, sir.
What did you read when you were younger that led to your influences to what you're writing now?
What did I read when I was younger? Anything I could lay my hands on. I read a lot of Edgar Allan Poe. I read Jane Eyre about 20 times. I read Jane Austen. I read any mystery that I could find. I read Mary Renault, Shirley Jackson, and I'm sure they've all had some. Elizabeth Peters was a big influence on me because she not only writes good mysteries, but she writes them humorously and very well. There's writing funny is really hard, and it was a revelation to me that she could be so obviously an excellent writer and yet be funny. Yes.
Hi. Obviously, you probably know that there's a lot of websites that are, obsessed with your books and True Blood.
This lady is actually asking a question. That's okay.
But one of the websites that I follow is ericandsookielovers.com blog, and we just wanted to know if you could possibly just kind of say hi and maybe give us any words of encouragement for those of us that are Team Eric, and just kind of say anything.
I've got to say, this lady is on Eric and Sookie Lovers.
Well, I go on there and just say hi and comment on there.
I don't get this whole team thing. That started with Stephanie Meyer's fans, and I just think, follow Sookie's life. The books are really about her and her eventual path, and let's just follow her because, on my board we had to cut out some of the questioning lines because people would just get too upset. While I'm thrilled to have written characters that people are so invested in, sometimes I think the focus of the books has shifted in readers' minds to a place where I didn't really intend for it to go. Just me. Yes?
Where do you get your inspiration for your fairies?
Where do I get my inspiration from?
For your fairies?
For my fairies. Well, they're hard to write because fairies don't come from the Judeo-Christian tradition that most other characters do. So writing them is like writing about wild animals in a way. They just have intents and purposes that humans don't know anything about. So they're always exciting to write and sometimes scary. And you don't want to meet an elf, of course. Yes, ma'am. Yes, really do.
I know you can't tell us who Sookie ultimately winds up with, but can you tell us whether or not we've met them in any of your books today?
Oh, well, I certainly wouldn't bring in a last-minute suitor in the last book. No, that would be kind of, cheesy. Yes, ma'am. Yes, you.
I was curious if you had considered going back to the Harper series at all and
I would consider going back to the Harper Conley series if I had a great idea. So far, I've got nothing on Harper. She's going to be a TV show, right?
Yeah.
She's going to be a TV show on Sci-Fi. Next year. It won't be till late next year because they do things way in advance because of the special effects, I understand. So it's going to be a whole different process. Yes, ma'am.
When you brought Jack into the event to investigate Deadlocked, did you kind of make up a backstory with that of who she talked to, how they ran out of food, and like?
About the introduction of Jack and Lily into the Sookie story when they came to investigate Debbie Pelt. Now, I just wanted to say hi to them. I don't spend a lot of time creating background that I know I'm not going to need. If I had been going to investigate them further in the story, then I would have worked on that more. Yes.
Even though you don't have any input on the HBO show, how do you feel that it's going? How do you feel about it?
Even though I don't have any input on the HBO show, how do I feel how it's going? You know, the HBO show has benefited my sales so much, I would be grossly ungracious to say anything about it. Yes.
I know you're not a fan of the whole team aspect, but I was kind of always a Team Quinn. I wondered if you had any plans to bring him back into this last book, maybe? Or?
He hasn't shown up. We're talking about Quinn, I'm sorry.
The Weird Tiger!
If Quinn doesn't show up in the last Sookie book, there's a chance he's going to show up somewhere else.
Yay!
Yes. Oh, the Cluvial door. Honestly, how did I come up with that? I don't remember. I wanted to have something that had 2 words, and it had to not bear any relationship to any language I knew, and I wanted it to sound vaguely Latin. So after much thought, I came up with Cluvial door, because that sounded kind of mysterious to me. You know, no big thing. No, there's no direct translation. It's a magical love object, so it's very specific. Yes. A favorite work of fiction? Ooh, now, you know, if asked me one day and I'd say one thing, ask me another day and I'd say something different, because I'm always reading new and wonderful books. That's my biggest pastime is reading, and I'm always finding something wonderful.
What is it today?
What is it today? You know, I just love World War Z.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my favorite books.
Yeah, that's a good.
It's a great book. Yes.
When you started writing a Sookie story, did you know where she was going to end up eventually at the end, or did it kind of evolve as you started writing more and more?
I didn't know after the first book, because I wasn't sure I was ever going to get to write another Sookie book. So the fact that I have gotten to write this many, I could never have anticipated that. But after the first few books, I did know how the series would end. Yes.
I know that you said that writing is a full-time job, but how do you go about, like, you write, one day you write books on the Sookie story, and go right next day you write another book on your Tea Garden series, or how do you do that?
Well, I haven't written a Tea Garden book in many, many years. No, I finish a book and then I do another. I'm not very good at skipping around. I get into the head of the characters as I'm writing them, and then it's a wrench to have to pull myself away and do something else. Yes. Yes, you.
How did you come up and develop the history? I mean, you said you're not good about back history. How did you decide upon the history of Eric?
How did I decide upon the history of Eric and maybe all the vampires? I did some research as to what his life would have been like. I read a couple of books about Vikings. With Bill, I did research into the regiment he would have been in Louisiana. So I do try to give them, Sophie Ann, same thing. I try to give them at least superficially credible backgrounds, because I don't want anybody to be able to say, well, that's an obvious lie, when I can make them more full and rounded people with a little bit of research. Yes.
Of all of your book series, who's your favorite point of view to write from?
Of all my book series, what's my favorite point of view to write from? You know, whoever I'm writing at the moment is my favorite, because I kind of love the one I'm with. Yes.
This is kind of home-based, but along with your series, the Sookie Stackhouse series, which is one of my all-time favorites, I'm also a huge Harry Potter fan. Have you ever dipped into maybe those books? I love magic.
Oh, have I read? Of course I read the Harry Potter books. I don't live in a vacuum. Yeah, I love the Harry Potter books.